afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching us. This is Tribal Roots Studio with your own Simon. I'm so delighted to be part of Tribal Roots, and I thank all of you who are always watching from wherever you are. And please subscribe, like, comment, give us your views about our progress. This is yet another time of geopolitics, and we are going to be discussing a very sensitive matter that is of global, region, and country concern to almost all of us. And I'm so delighted to be part of you to this discussion, and I'm your your moderator. I'm having a person you really know, one of your best favorite. Please, I don't really want to introduce you. Can you really introduce yourself? I know they know you so well, but you can still do it.
Hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon. My name is Derek Baraza. I'm so honored to be here once again. And like I said, it's always a pleasure getting back to be here. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Derek. It has been really a while, but I know people have been missing you, but this is yet another interesting episode that they have to see you.
Sure, yeah, sure.
I always thank you so much because you're always part of Tribal Roots from the start.
Thank you so much.
Well, back to the reason as why we are here. We are here talking about the rising commodity prices in East Africa, in Africa, in Uganda, but we are going to, in most cases, zero down to specifically like East Africa and Uganda. So, first and foremost, we have a few goods that are really essential, a few commodities that even to the last person in the village there, it's supposed to have them. Talk about things like soap, cooking oil, and food at large. These are one of the things that have been really of a nation concern and East Africa at large. And really, the prices have been really overwhelming high. And I saw a tweet when someone was saying that if bathing once a day is a luxury in a country, really that's a big crisis, and it's really true.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Derek, what did you talk about? And I know you have been seeing this.
I've been paying very close attention to the developments. As a matter of fact, from around mid last year, August, to currently where we sit right now in April. So, but actually, if you ask me on any day, and I'll repeat this from any part of the world, that whatever is happening to Uganda right now is non-classic economics. Yeah, and that's one of the things that we don't understand. Blame game after the other. Now, the first time we blamed COVID, we went back to classic economics, blaming COVID on surplus and demand, and that's why prices of fuel were going up. This time again, we're doing the same blame game on Russia, Ukraine, whatever. The same, we're still running back to the basics of demand and supply. Now, if you ask me, I really depart from that school of thought. I think this is non-Milton Keynes economics for the first time, and we have to understand that. The answers or let's start with the diagnosis of the problem. The diagnosis of the current situation in this country is not any of supply and demand. Because if you ask me, this is an economic pandemic spread across the world. Fuel prices have, yes, risen across the world. But why is it that it's affecting Uganda so hard? So the issue with Uganda is not really supply or demand. It's actually an issue of real strong politics. The economics that works versus the economics that keeps silent. And that's really the utmost issue here. If we have a government that was actually being cherished so much for its efforts against COVID, like we discussed before, why can't we be very strong to lampoon and lambast the same government in this case? Tell them that really whatever they're doing in this situation has to really change. So if you ask me, I've been looking at statistics from World Vision, Fawznet, among many others. Fawznet actually says for the first time that product prices average, a standard unit used to assess the average price of products in the market, particularly food products in the region, has actually risen by about 3 times. It used to be about 142 in 2004, and right now it's at 122. But actually, that's the average. So usually the bottom is around 60. So that tells you that it has multiplied by around 3 or 4 times. Prices have actually, in simple terms, prices have multiplied by around 3 or 4 times in the region. There is no way you're going to tell me that this, happening from 2004 to right now, has been accelerated by the Ukraine pandemic that is about 2 months old. So our key issue here is not really supply and demand. It's an issue of really strong policy. What are we doing? What is the government doing? What is the central bank doing? What is the customs union doing? What is the regional integration blocks actually doing to really handle this situation at large?
Okay, Mr. Derek, if I can take you back slightly, and we go to like 3 months or 4 months back, we remember the increase in fuel prices when it was a big problem at the start, and government, or there was an explanation of our delays because of testing twice,
COVID testing.
of which also the drivers, fuel specifically, were delaying to bring in the fuel, and it was one of the reasons as to why fuel was scarce, and the price also shot high. You get so after a week, when that problem was solved, where testing was like maybe once, like from the other side of the country, and after the week, still the prices were still high, and still government came in and said this time round the problem is global. You get home-based problem. Are we taking this blame still, because still even increased prices of commodities, that's still what government has come in to explain? Are we shifting this blame to the global world, and we are seated and waiting as government, or I don't know?
Yeah.
So should we wait for foreign government, the globe, and other people to intervene before we come to rescue?
Without a doubt, I actually think so. I would liken to what the government of Uganda does to relating the sound of a blast due to a balloon in your house, maybe to a nearby gunshot in the hood, saying that whatever caused the noise was actually not the balloon in your house, but a certain bullet that actually ran about 4 miles away. I think the government of Uganda has been very steadfast, and this is my opinion, and I hold it dearly, has been so hell-bent to the blame games very well throughout the years. I mean, the COVID happens, and the government strongly, maybe due to its insufficiencies here and there, if you can remember very well, the lending rates at the Bank of Uganda at that time were actually picked. Quantitative easing was done by the central bank, by the International Monetary Fund. Special drawing rights were given to Uganda. There was a lot of money pumped to the Ugandan economy just to keep Uganda's economy afloat. Despite all of this, fuel prices and many others still went up. But we still want to blame the COVID or Russia or international bodies or whatever for whatever happened. Yet, actually, I feel they're actually trying to ameliorate, to alleviate the problems on ground.
On success, we never blame the globe, because I remember when we praised and the state came out, the head of state and other, that we fought COVID very well amidst the pandemic crisis. Of course, God inclusive, but really we did well as compared to other countries, despite of maybe our, let me say, our, I can say, substandard health in some areas.
Say that the doctors work so hard, so but this is actually really an economics issue, and you have to really talk about the economy and the people, it's just stakeholders in it. I really, and like I was actually saying before, I really don't think Uganda should keep on blaming outside forces for the effect of fuel prices or whatever economic inflation is happening within the country right now. I want to tell you, a case in point is the IMF, in the same way that So they provided about 35 trillion shillings to Uganda. That's about how much? I'm forgetting the sum in actually dollars. Provided the same special drawing rights to countries like the US. We had quantitative easing, like also happened in Uganda, in the US, of about $3 trillion. We had what? All these provided solutions to counter the COVID pandemic. Why is it that these solutions happen in countries like the US and they didn't happen in countries like Uganda? The main issue here that you're talking about is an inside problem that we keep forgetting and we keep alluding it to outside forces. Everything. I don't really know what happens with the people in the central bank or anything. I guess I respect whatever they do, but I feel there is a very strong economic oppression. Yeah, maybe the economics that they are hell-bent to are so classic that they actually forget the real situation in the country and how you can actually operate. If you actually ask me what they would be doing right now, they'd be cutting taxes on fuel, just to provide ways for fuel just to keep afloat. We saw the Kenyan government do that. Kenya provided about 54 billion Kenya shillings in terms of financial stimulus for the fuel crisis. Kenya, on top of that, actually also increased lending rates. Just to keep the fuel business afloat. Kenya also, in the same way, did a lot of other things. Yeah, just to keep the fuel prices at bay. The issue with Uganda right now is that we have an economic system that keeps forgetting the real concern and is now doing the blame games. And let me tell you, Simon, as long as this continues, the economy of Uganda is going to continue to lack like this. It's going to, I don't know, blame game takes this country nowhere. The same energy that we use to praise the leaders should be the same energy that we actually bring them to account for these issues. Let me ask you, the parliament of recent in Uganda has been discussing a lot of issues, parish development model, the death of the
Actually,
speaker.
before you continue, if I can intervene about that and the government, I heard the chief whip, the parliamentary chief whip, saying there is no fuel prices can go down because there was some noise and lamentations that these revenues and whatever should be at least reduced, but he said there is no clear answer. I mean, it's so laughable, you know.
Yeah, well, of course, it's very laughable. Is when you expect the man plowing the garden to look at the oxen plow the garden itself. I mean, that's when you know that the whole project has failed. It's really outside of the current economic system in Uganda that is a people nation. But I still have faith in them that they can do much. It's really upset that they're actually forgetting what they actually do to provide alternatives, incentives, and stimuli to actually boost the economy in these tough times. But I want to repeat in a very strong way, this is a central problem that deserves central solutions. Central Bank of Uganda, the Treasury, the Finance Ministry, State House, and many others have to really step into this concern and really address it in the strongest ways possible.
Okay. The other thing is, I wanted to remind you of one of the posts that when you know we are students, one of the posts that went viral and we're making a lot of news at campus when someone posted that actually lunch is a mindset you get, and really when you think twice at this point, really at this crisis, lunch is really a mindset where someone really has to think twice whether lunch is supposed to be taken that time or not.
Somebody calls it a mentality.
Yes.
Lunch is actually a mentality. Well, for me, actually, I think I would say supper is the mentality, not really lunch. And it has been that for a long time. But that's a real concern. It stretches a real fact, a real very serious issue. And I think it's a real buttressed concern. People are actually having to starve in one way or the other. This, given the effects of climate change, given the effects of all other things, people are suffocating. And the travesty, the real situation here, the problem here is that their onlookers, bystanders, that are throwing huge birthday parties, international birthday parties, to celebrate as the common man is actually suffering. Now, I want to stress this out in a very strong way, that the truth is that people somewhere in this country are actually having to struggle to put food on the table, having to struggle so much to have that soap, having to sell at low prices
Yeah.
to buy at higher prices.
High prices.
It's a very, very serious
One
tautological
of
situation.
the advantages as Uganda and most of these countries in East Africa, but let me zero down to Uganda, is we are lucky in the sense that if I'm to be right, around 70% of the population really we rely on farming, agriculture, like what we eat is really what we've really produced from our gardens.
Exactly.
So we have a certain way God has made us survive.
Yeah, informal economy.
Yes, because I'm trying to imagine if an average Ugandan was really surviving on, let me even just leave alone farming. Let's talk about this person who lives on hand to mouth in, let me say, the city, who is really on hand to mouth on daily basis. When the price of cooking oil and other things increase, sugar, you really see a big problem, and you brought in an issue of people living a luxurious life unnecessarily. I can give an example. In Parliament right now, I think if I'm not mistaken, the members of Parliament are 500 and something. You get, then you got the state and what, and the ministers. You get. Now, when you really see the need, and most of these ministers, they are starting to have, and some have had convoys, and which are fueled by government. You get, the state, the head of state, and others. You get this kind of luxury life. Okay, it's good, and we really appreciate that. But at such a crisis, you get, why can there be an intervention where there can be reduction? You get, how many cars do you move with the convoy?
Well, this reminds me of
so that it can really reduce the consumption, and maybe we get the money and we divert it to maybe really sensitive area for this crisis. Well, it can start from there, like we continue from there after the crisis calming down.
Well, I want to bring the case of the 17th century story that you have, the French Revolution. Of course, I think you must have read about it, about Marie Antoinette and King Louis XVI and everything, where we saw due to lack of decisive solutions from the core of government, we had crises all over the place. Prices, in the same way in Uganda, were rising in France, in the same way, and we saw what happened next. A state of anarchy, secession, and dispute actually happened. And this
when you say about that, you remind me of scenarios. Let's see Sudan here. It was bread.
You see?
It was bread that brought a lot of actually change of government.
Exactly, that's how it works.
Yeah.
First is the price of fuel, then the price of bread, then the price of labor, capital, and secession, dispute, anarchy. All these things happen. So I want to put it clear that, like we saw, and you actually paint a picture that is very, very akin and very close to Marie Antoinette when she says the popular statement, if you can't afford bread, buy cakes, something like that, you know, that kind of pomp. And
even our minister told us that when they were still growing up, it went all over New Vision, and we know this on record, that when they grew up, the time they grew up, they didn't have soap, they were
using purple leaves.
Using purple leaves.
Anyway, it's the same.
If our heads are
no, it's the same minister who told us that there was snow in Kenya. So I
actually
I want to treat it as,
when she was given platform to talk about fuel increase and what have you, she ran speechless.
I mean, all that drama and everything. So, well, this actually paints the real problem in Uganda, that there's a real strong vacuum at the core, a very strong deficiency at the center. Policy, as long as policy does not get manufactured, and as long as it does not trickle down, at the right time, this country is headed for dark time, secession, anarchy, war, a lot of things. And I actually pray that the government actually ready for this. Let's never, in any way, take the suffering of the ordinary man for granted. This is actually happening, and I believe, like I told you, if the central bank, the treasury, and everything can actually respond to this solution, like we saw Kenya, or the Indian Central Bank, the Treasury Department in India do. All those. This country is headed for that time. Now, the war in Ukraine has actually lasted for only 2 months.
2 months.
If the government of Uganda keeps blaming the war in Ukraine for this, where is this country headed to? Like we see right now, I've been following the wars in Ukraine so keenly, and we actually see a protracted fighting. According to most experts, this war could actually go on for more than a year.
Yeah.
So what would you expect for the economy in Uganda if you continue blaming? I strongly believe the government of Uganda, whatever they're doing, they have to be providing real solutions instead of discussing
domestic solutions.
exactly domestic and also policy, fiscal in any way. If it means to print more money, if it means to empty the gold reserves, it means to do anything. Yeah, I mean, something must be done. Decrease lending rates, provide incentives to the fuel industry in any way to provide stimulus or resuscitation for the economy. Otherwise, this country is headed for dark times. I repeat.
All right, Mr. Derek, thank you so much for sharing with us this interesting topic. Thank you also for watching us. Please click subscribe, like, comment, give us your views. What is your own take? What's your side about the increase in prices of commodities, especially, let me say, the essential commodities, soap, cooking oil, sugar, fuel. Please, we love you so much, and thank you for being with Tribal Roots Geopolitics. Is there any last word you have for our viewers before we leave?
I'd actually ask and urge people out there to brace themselves for tough times. I mean, these are very perilous economic times, and in a certain way, I would also be sounding concerned that people should be providing alternatives. If it means alternative fuel solutions in terms of renewable energy, or like we see the Tesla cars or anything, or maybe wind energy, or even domestic solutions. If maybe laundry can be done in particular ways, it's a time for innovation and whatever. So my outcry is, may the general population do its best.
All right. Thank you so much for watching us. This was Geopolitics. We love you. Till next time, that's Saturday. Thank you.